left.
Coach, I know you've talked about it a good bit, about opposing teams doubling Josh and, hedging him a pretty good bit. How do you, I guess easier said than done, but how do you overcome that? What's kind of the solution to getting them out of those double teams?
Like you mentioned, we've seen it often this year, even last year, and it's something we continue to talk about going into each game of trying to find different nuances to help us gain an advantage out of it. The thing we do the most against it is, make sure our bigs that are, the ball screener understand when it's Josh that more likely than not, their man is going to, trap the ball and, as opposed to a long roll to the basket, more of a shorter roll and sit down like in the middle of a zone defense, football-wise, if you will, and try to find that opening and then hit him. And then for a brief time, you got the 4-on-3, and we work on moving guys to different spots on the floor and, having a reaction to the pass to the big in terms of cutting and sliding and, staying space, but giving the passer, a couple simple options. They take away the cut and then hit the guy, but you have a quick decision to make and you have an advantage that way. And then the other thing we'll do is, as you guys are watching the games, try to flip the ball screener's hips and, set up the defense one way and try to get them to refuse the ball screen and to go away from the potential trap guy. And then certainly with Josh, using different techniques at the point of attack with using his speed to try to attack the big and either draw a foul or go around him with his speed compared to the bigger guys that are trapping him. And then obviously if they're loose with their technique and they create a hole there at the point of attack of just splitting the ball screen and trying to get straight downhill. So it's something that, if you're watching the games, you'll see different tactics that we use both with the ball handler and the people off the ball to try to put these guys in a position to take advantage of it. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't.
Go ahead to Sam here, front row middle, and then we'll go over to Jacob to coach's right.
These last few games, when you're watching the film, particularly on the defense, has it been kind of the same issues with point of attack or anything different, or more of just kind of the same that's been this season?
Yeah, the last game, when we talked in here about the disappointment with our defensive energy, our guarding the ball, having better resistance, when you watch the game, certainly that was a big part of it. But our offense, really let our defense down. I mean, the turnovers, in this league, live ball turnovers are like the points per possession that each team has versus live ball turnovers is astronomical. It's like it's just too good of players, too much space in the court, advantage situations for the offense, is trouble for the defense more often than not. And we just had way too many turnovers. They ended up with 18, and quite a few of them were live ball, and we just, that goes without saying, the obvious of not getting a chance to score the ball, to rebound the ball on a miss, and giving that other team, more possessions, and then, like I mentioned, the live ball turnover. So I thought that was, as big a story to the game as anything. I thought we had some bite to us on certain possessions, but, Mark Mitchell was proved to be, really tough, especially early, and then Burns, arguably, I don't know his every game historically, but arguably had the best game that he's had, in college. He really, watching the film, he made some tough shots. He was making, 15-foot hook shots. You don't see that very often from a kid, from anyone for that matter, any level. And he showed remarkable touch, and I was really impressed, especially when I watched the tape and slowed it down and had more time to think about, that rather than thinking about what we need to do better to try to be a deterrent to the team. But, yeah, like I said, certainly our defensive numbers aren't what we're used to, and that needs to change. But in that particular game, I thought our offense led to a lot of that.
Florida seems a bit old school in the sense of they seem to be built around their big men and not really their guards. I guess, how tough is that to prepare for?
Yeah, they're definitely what you said, and they've been that way. They've done a great job in recruiting and development, and they're very simple in terms of their structure, their schemes, and I don't mean that in a negative way at all. It's that's what basketball is. It's what I tell our guys, especially in training camp, leading into the games. Like, it's doing the same things at a high level over and over and over, and don't get bored with, the drills, the monotony of it, because the things that we're doing on a daily basis are the things you're going to have to do in the games. It's like different coaches have different philosophies on keeping it fresh and changing up your drills and what you do every day so it's not mundane. But, the argument of keeping it, similar drills, similar itineraries, similar practice plans that's what the game is doing the same things over and over and over and doing it at elite level. And that's what Florida does. You know what they're going to do heading into the game. Everybody does. And it's like, okay, stop it. Now it's your job to try to stop it, because we know what we're doing. We know what we're going to do. They're not tricky that way. They run a lot of ball screens, and they obviously are elite at rebounding the basketball. And then when their guards really get it going, then, they can obviously beat anybody in the country.
We'll go Danny P., second row middle.
Coach, Sean Jones has been a leader now for quite some time for your team. Just what have you seen from him down this stretch now that he's a senior and wrapping up his career?
Yeah, he's all he's known is winning since he's been here. He's be our first four-year player, and that's what he's known is winning and being in the NCAA tournament and playing in March Madness. And I know this isn't what he envisioned, for his last year, especially given what I just talked about. He's handled what we're going through remarkably well. I told him the other day how proud I was of him to handle the adversity that we're going through, especially knowing that, you don't get another shot of another year of college basketball. At least right now he doesn't. I mean, who knows with the era we're living in, if they'll make another rule change to allow kids to play a fifth season or not, what have you. But he's not happy, like none of us are, but he's handled it really, really well.
We'll go back to Paul to coach's left.
Coach, I know you obviously have no control over rumors this time of year with hot boards and schools mentioning you for this job or that job. You've been mentioned a lot with Kansas State. How do you handle that, or do you even worry about it? But how do you handle that as a coach during the season? Because it's happened a lot since you've been here. Obviously, a lot of that due to your success here. But how do you handle that, and how happy are you, with Mississippi State and living in Starkville?
Well, what you said is the answer. The rumors, the people putting lists out, that's out of my control. It's not something that I spend any time on. I can't control what people write or, this time of year. I mean, I'm in the business for 33 years now. Like, this time of year, everyone in the country is doing that. Like, who's on the hot seat? Who's okay? What coaches are next for maybe job openings that are either available or become available? It's a right that happens every spring, and I don't, obviously, when you're a young coach, if you get your name on one of those lists, it was kind of cool. It was like, oh yeah, this is they're talking about me. That's so far in the rearview mirror for me, and I would imagine most coaches that are coaching at this level. I don't pay any mind to it. I love being the coach at Mississippi State. They've continued to make my job better. Zach Selman has continued to resource our program at the level that is needed and required. And certainly, we've got basketball yet to be played, and we're working our tail off preparing for this game, and I anticipate having a competitive practice today. But all of that mess, I don't really handle it. I've never addressed it with our team. There's no reason to talk about that with our team. I have in the past said, hey, if you don't hear it from me, then it's garbage. Like, don't get caught up in worrying about that or reading that kind of stuff, because it's out of our control. It's out of our control, and I'm excited to be the coach here, just like I was in my first year. I don't take this lightly. It means a world to me to be the head coach at Mississippi State, and obviously I know everybody's disappointed in the results, and rightfully so. I promise you, no one's more disappointed than myself, and I'd imagine, I can't speak for them, but our staff would probably echo that sentiment. And like I said, we're going to continue to fight and scratch and claw and try to do our best, for the remaining of the season.
All right, thank you guys. We'll see you Saturday.
Thanks.